Hey, what is up, Omni athletes? If you have not registered yet for the 2019 Future of Sport Conference, do it today. Go to live.theomniathlete.com. This conference is truly going to transform the way you look at sport, the way you compete in sport, and if you are a coach or a leader who's working to bring sports consciousness into your team, into your organization, into your client base, whoever it is that you serve, and you need help building that bridge in translating the practices of higher consciousness, the practices of meditation, mindfulness, EFT, training principles around energetics and embodiment, and how that all translates into athletic performance and in a way that you can communicate its value, and by extension, the value you deliver in being able to bring that work to sport and to the world. This is the conference for you to be at. We are going to have an incredible list of speakers and teachers that all have gone through the journey of translating that work, that value, that power into athletic performance and into peak performance for sport, for life, through movement. So be there July 19th through 21st in San Francisco. The Future of Sport Conference. Go to live.theomniathlete.com to register today. Grab your ticket. We'll see you guys in San Francisco. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Omni Athlete. You're here because you believe that you can be more, and so do we. We created this show and company to empower your performance with the wisdom and techniques of the world's highest achieving mind, body, and spirit competitors. Okay, so today's guest is the co-director of the Flow Genome Project Coaching Certification, a best-selling author, host of the Embodiment Work Summit, and is on a mission to bring her 30-plus years of body-mind training into the workplace to spark an engagement revolution. As one of the preeminent voices on flow, peak performance, and shifting into a state of optimal being, she works with some of the brightest companies on the planet in the ultimate human performance and leadership development fields to redefine motivation. She has trained elite college athletes, was a professional athlete herself, founded an award-winning yoga and meditation center, and has been featured on a host of the biggest media publications for living a more engaged life on the planet. It's my pleasure to introduce to Omni athlete, Cara Bradley. Welcome to the show, Cara.
Wow, thanks for that intro. Sounds awesome.
Well, you are awesome. That's why you're on this show. We're really excited to have you.
Thank you. It's always amazing to hear those intros. It's like, wait a second, every day I just, I get up, I do my thing, I've got my practices, you just kind of plug away. So it's always kind of weird to hear it in intro, in it all condensed that way.
Where does that show up when you have those feelings? Where does that show up in your body?
Oh, good question. Kind of in my solar plexus, right? Which is kind of our power center. I feel like there's a lightness there.
The reason I wanted to lead with that question too is because one of the most energizing and I still think underutilizes pieces of your work is this idea of from the neck down. How do things feel in our body? How do we connect with that as athletes? And for athletes and for the coaches that work with us, we go through life training our bodies, but so often we're disconnected from what is actually happening in our body. And that I know that's a place that you play in specifically. And I'm very curious to see what comes up for you there.
Yeah, it's not only a place I play in, it's really what I am most passionate about, but probably for the last decade or so. And the interesting thing about being alive today is that, we remember when there was no Google, right? And so we kind of sat with a lot of stuff. And what I remember is when there wasn't all the information on brain science and the science of the nervous system. And so I've been playing in practices, and in many ways, this is what the ancients were doing. The ancient meditators and monks, they were just their own neuroscientists, right? They were practicing and experimenting on themselves. And I kind of feel like I've been doing that my whole life. But now what's so cool is that we have these experts and researchers that can support all of our findings and also enhance our findings. So from the neck down, what I see and have seen as a teacher of movement for 30 plus years is that we live in our heads, even when we're moving our bodies, even in sport, even on a walk, we're in our heads. And what I noticed when I was 15 years old and I first started teaching figure skating was when people started to relax, I could see them come alive. Like I actually saw people become embodied. And that's just this sense of lightness and brightness in their whole physical being. So to me, getting out of your head is really, it's like turning up the lights in a dim room to high voltage.
Does that sense of lightness, is that maybe a cue for us as athletes? Or if I put the lens on from a coaching perspective, and if I look at either an individual athlete or client that I'm working with, or I look at a specific team, if I sense that, I don't know if darkness is the right word, but the heaviness, the drain, is that a good indicator for me that, hey, there isn't something occurring in that embodiment sense? There's a disconnect.
Yeah, because mental energy uses up so much more energy. Thinking uses up, I think it's 25% of our daily energy, just thinking. So when we overthink, we become exhausted, and we overthink before games, right? We overthink before competition, before anything big. We're overthinking. Where if we could, and this is where I'm really excited about where my work is heading, is when we really learn to prime our system, right? Priming, just like you would on your lawnmower, when you push that little squishy button, you get the gas going right before you rev it up. I mean, that's what priming is. It's like it's preparing the nervous system, which then prepares the emotional and mental systems for optimal performance.
We've talked about in the past the idea of speaking directly to the body, right? And really bypassing some of that thinking mind and so much of the chatter that goes on. When we think about priming ourselves for peak performance and for flow specifically, and really entering those optimal states, do you think that's still the gap that we miss at times as performers, is that we're priming maybe our mind and we're trying to think our way. We're trying to prime our way with thought into our body versus speaking to the body as kind of that, as you just pointed, ignition to catalyze the rest of the system.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We do so much as athletes to train our bodies, to train the muscles, to train in movement patterns, right? We do that to the point where, most of our professional athletes are really, the degree of difference between their physical capacities is really very small, right? So then the next step would be training the mind, right? And we know this through mental training, mindfulness training. How do we learn to pay attention on purpose for longer periods of time? So that's awesome as well. But what I think a lot of us in general, and I forget to do it as well, is to recognize that our body is speaking to us and telling us the exact state that we're in at this moment, right here. I call it the verge, right? On the verge. Right now, our body's going to tell us, so that in this moment, we have the capacity to read our body, to make a subtle adjustment, right? To be agile on our feet, to make an adjustment, whether it be through breath, through stillness, silence, movement, rhythm. And so it's the highway, that highway between mind, like I love your shirt, mind with body. It's recognizing that there's a highway of information happening. It's not just what I did in the gym last week. It's what my body's telling me now and how that's affecting my mind. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot of information.
Oh, it totally does. And what came up for me is I was thinking about the spectrum of what our body can tell us around performance, right? And as performers pre-competition, especially, our body is sending us those signals. And a lot of times I struggle with this, and I would imagine a lot of performers do. It's very easy to get focused on what our body's telling us in a maybe negative capacity, right? Here's the things that are making me feel anxious, or just the different pieces of my body that I'm losing a sense that they're not ready to perform the way I wanted to. For you, what allows us to know we're about to enter that one of, or that specific state of optimal performance? How does that show up in our body?
Well, my friend Stephen Cutler always says you can't find flow. Like, you can't go out and seek flow. You actually drop into the state, right? So sometimes it's an external environment that creates the trigger for flow. Sometimes it's high consequences, flying down a mountain. Sometimes it's just being in an incredible competition. And it's just being basically squeezed by other human beings that triggers us into flow. But for the most part, we can prime our systems or get our systems ready to drop into flow when the conditions are right. And that's really, as athletes, that's what we can focus on. We can't make flow happen, but we can make our system ready by priming it, make it ready for flow.
What is the role of curiosity in priming that readiness?
It's a good question. Think our bodies are telling us all the time what we need. They really are. We're just, I often call myself such a hard head. I don't listen. We don't listen. What is so amazing about a lot of the work being done, the research being done, and the stuff that I'm just consuming daily is that we can change the state of our nervous system from non-optimal or stressed or dulled to optimal. Optimal state would be a state of coherence where we're clear and calm, alert and at ease. Both the same thing. So different words may speak to you. Clear and calm, composed, right? Alert and at ease, and like kind of in stealth mode, right? That's a coherent state. Coherence happens when there's a specific way that we're breathing. There's a way, our heart rate variability. There's a way that our heart is finding a rhythm, right? There's a way that our body, our nervous system is in a state of balance that can predict this state of coherence. So we can read that pretty easily. We just have to pay attention. And that's where the curiosity comes in. When we start to realize that our breath and our capacity to change our breath is our direct knob to our autonomic nervous system. I'm going to say that again, because it took me a while to really believe that it could be this easy. When we change our breath pattern from a suboptimal, which would be like breathing really short in our chest, right? Or breathing too long and deep, that kind of makes us feel dull. When we breathe optimally, and this coherent breathing pattern we can talk about will help us get there, our nervous system is in balance. And so all our other systems, including our mental system, is in balance. So we're not eating up mental energy. Our digestion, all of our functions are just functioning optimally and not using too much, so that we are in now an optimal state for whether we're going into a boardroom or onto the court. So it's the breath. The breath right there is your knob to priming for optimization.
Now let's build this bridge between another concept I listened to you speak really energizingly about, which is the difference between being and knowing. So if curiosity is that guidepost for us, with your work in the world of sports, where do you see most athletes fall into on that spectrum of knowing versus being? And where does coaching help or hurt that?
That's a great question. All right. So, as I said before, most elite athletes are well trained, right? We could always get better. We could always fine tune, but we're going to be, if you're an elite athlete playing at a college level or pro level, you're going to have a pretty well-tuned physiology. However, if we get stuck in our head, the access to that physiological strength and agility and acuity and alertness is hampered. When we're stuck in our head, I used to tell the guys when I was working with Villanova basketball, I remember sitting with the guys and I say, guys, when you're stuck in your head during a game, it's like a garage door closes between what you're thinking and what you're able to access physically and around you. It's like, and the garage door is, it's like you think of like slamming this door shut, right? It's not that it's shut and you're not going to be able to move, but really your capacity to know what to do and where your teammates are in any given second is greatly diminished when you're stuck in your head. It's when we get out of our head, get into our body, and start to trust that all those years of training, All those practice sessions, like I tell them, go back to like your first tournament when you were 10 and your coach sitting you down and giving you feedback. That's in your body. Like that, you can recall that information. Every game, every competition, every missed shot, every dunked shot is there for you. But if you're stuck trying to process just a little bit of information in your head, you're not going to be able to access this phenomenal intelligence that's running through us and around us all the time.
It's so easy to take for granted the power of recalling those experiences where we really did feel at our best, right? Visualization is not a new technique. This is, and the meditations around it, especially for sport, have grown over the last 20 years. And yet at the same time, whenever we're preparing, whenever we're getting ready for competition, it still seems like one of the most impactful and at times underutilized skill sets is just to say, hey, let's remember this. Let's reconnect to this feeling and call upon that energy for right now.
Yeah, I love that. And visualization is amazing. I don't facilitate it, right? But I do in certain ways, but there is a ton of research that's been done on our capacity to be still, yet to put our body into a high state like we would be in competition just by mentally running the tape over and over again. So you're absolutely right, Josh, in that when we do practice, and what's so cool is I just had the great honor of interviewing Stephen Porges. Stephen Porges is an incredible researcher who's done a lot of work. He actually is the pioneer behind the polyvagal theory, and we don't have to go into that. But what he talks about and what really gets me so excited is neural training, neural exercises. And this is what you're talking about, Josh. We can visualize or prime ourselves to strengthen our capacity to be in an optimal neurological state, neurophysiological state more often. So it is just like going to the gym and doing the bicep curls. You're strengthening your capacity to be optimal more often. And it's happening. It's so cool.
So what does that word capacity mean to you, Cara? You use that, and I love the energy that comes with it. And I can tell it's got a very specific, it brings up specific energies for you. What are they?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you were to ask me, what breaks your heart? Right? I just love that question. It's like, what breaks your heart? What breaks my heart and why I do what I do and I'm so passionate about it is capacity that's untapped. I truly believe in our extraordinary human potential, the intelligence, the wisdom, our capacity to know and create and connect with one another in so many different levels. But what breaks my heart is that we don't see it. I see so many that don't believe it, that don't trust it. So that word capacity or potential is just dormant, latent abilities. And so you said the word before, Josh, which is really important. It's a remembering. It's a waking up to the capacity, the ability, these innate intellect or intelligence or intuition that's already available to us.
Wow. Cara, this has been energizing as always. Oh my gosh. Before I ask my final question, where can these guys go to connect with you online?
So carabradley.net is my website. On there, I have my weekly podcast, videos, a bunch of places that I'm going to be. So yeah, find me, engage with me. Please reach out to me. I answer my emails. I love engaging with coaches and athletes. It makes me high as well.
Awesome. So we've asked you before what it means to be an Omni athlete. So on this show, what we're going to do as the final question is, what do you think the future of sport is?
Well, I do believe that the future of training is going to be at the neural level. at the nervous system level. That is where we're headed. So start to get to know what your nervous system is doing. And from there, I think it's just going to enhance sport. We're going to be speaking to each other's nervous systems and training each other's and competing with other nervous systems rather than competing with each other's bodies. Because the nervous systems that are humming at the most optimal level are going to be able to endure the most and be the most agile and resistant. And so this could be really huge.
Wow. Cara, thank you for being on the show. Guys, go check out everything that Cara is putting out into the world. Her content is incredible. It's energizing, it's transformative, and above all else, it's practical. So one of the things that you will recognize with Cara right away is this isn't about hype. It's not about trying to come up with some crazy hack for something. It's about real down-to-earth practices, whether you're an athlete or coach or just somebody who wants to be more embodied. Like, these tools work, and Cara's giving them out for free. So go connect with her online, reach out, and until next time, thank you guys for listening and watching this episode of Omni Athlete. Hey, what is up, guys? Thank you for watching another episode of Omni Athlete. Please go like and subscribe to our podcast. That is our goal right now, is just to build this community as big as we possibly can, and we need your help to do it. So like and subscribe, share our content, guys. If this content adds any value to your world, that helps you perform, connect, go deeper, go wider, whatever it is that it does for you, if it provides value, all we ask is that you share our content and help grow this community. We can't accomplish our goal of elevating global consciousness through sport without you. You are an integral part of this mission and this purpose, and we need your help. So please go like, subscribe, and share our content, and continue to help us build and grow this community that is truly motivated to not just elevate consciousness, but elevate and shift the very culture of sport so that we can truly experience the athletic experience in a brand new and energizing way for so many people, guys. So thank you, and please like and subscribe. Until next time.